backers, we are live. Here we go. What is up, Big Ten backers? We're live. Had to repeat that again. Take two. We had some technical difficulties. AJ's not running the show anymore, or at least for today. He'll be back shortly. He's got a new Big Ten backer, so I'm running the show. I made some mistakes. All right, so here we go. We got Vegas Matt here. What's up, man? How you been?
Doing well, sir. How about yourself?
Hanging in there. You're here for round two. All right. We did this before. We were halfway through. Didn't realize we weren't live. And we got Mike Germanese. What's up, buddy?
How we doing, buddy? How we doing? I'm doing excellent. How are you guys doing today?
Doing great. Mike Germanese is our man on College Football Dogs. Man, he gets a lot of those articles out, so follow him. Tell us about yourself, where they can see your articles at, my man.
College Football Dogs. You can find them on Reddit under my name. You can find them on Twitter and Facebook.
And speaking of Twitter, hit that subscribe, hit the share. We are live on Twitter too. But I shared something on Twitter the other day, and I wanted to get some good insights of what Autzen Stadium's like in Eugene, because I want to be out there for the Ohio State-Oregon game this year. And I got some interesting feedback. Some people shared a video with me, a couple other videos, but one in particular really stood out to me, so I got to pull that up. And as I'm pulling that up, tell me, boys, what you think. What do you think about Autzen? What does it scream to you?
Intense. Very passionate fan base. Very tough place for opposing teams to play. You know, a lot of spectacle, a lot of stuff to see. Just a very tough visiting environment.
Yeah, spectacle, a lot of stuff to see. Exactly. This is what he shares with me. I was like, all right, man. Right on my style. I like your style. I like it, man. This is Autzen Stadium, according to our boy, man. Autzen
that
Stadium.
Could potentially be confusing some defenses. So
Boingo 1583. I hope I pronounced that correctly. But this is Autzen Stadium to him, man. And I was like, touche, brother. Touche. So, now that we got that out of the way, let's get to the real show. We are talking about NFL draft, particularly the Big Ten, the risers and fallers. So, boys, we got to start with what we know. Let's talk the best from the Big Ten. There's the obvious, Caleb Williams. What do you got on Caleb Williams?
Yeah, Caleb Williams is the consensus number one pick. It really doesn't matter what mock draft you're looking at, and it really doesn't matter what NFL scout you're talking to. Everyone knows he's going to be the number one pick in the draft. You know, there's been some scuttle around whether or not Chicago is going to trade it. Quite honestly, after the combine, even though Caleb Williams didn't work out at all, he did his interviews. And if he wasn't the number one pick before Lucas Oil Stadium, he absolutely was afterwards. They said he absolutely crushed his interviews, everybody talking with him. So he is just a consensus number one without a doubt. Put up the numbers, had the Heisman Trophy 2 years ago, didn't this time around. We all know the story there. But you're dealing with 6'1", 215 pounds, extremely accurate, can play in the pocket. Obviously, he has the mobility, can get outside the pocket, use his legs. Very cerebral quarterback. Seems to get his teammates rallying around him. Again, he is the complete package, and that is exactly what you want when you have the number one overall pick. I don't think you've seen a consensus this high really since you saw Joe Burrow a few years ago, and there's even talk that he'd be better.
Speaking of complete package, man, I got to tell you, he did not send that medical to very many teams. Only the teams that were interviewing. He was like, 32 teams don't need to know my medical background. What's he trying to hide? Some herpes bullshit or something?
No,
I don't want everyone knowing that.
It's confidence, man. It's confidence.
Yes. It sounds like he's got something to hide to me. But, yeah, number one draft pick. He's definitely going to get it. It's the worst kept secret alive, right? I mean, he's got all the tools in the world. He can get outside the pocket. He can stay inside the pocket. He can create a new pocket going back and forth. There was a couple plays that we had some highlights on our first go-around, but missed them this time around. The dude, he's all quarterback. I mean, everything you need. He can read an offense. He can audible. And like you said, he's cerebral. He can run the ball. He can get those extra points. He can win games for you.
It's natural to him. He just knows how to play the position.
He plays a little bit like almost backyard ball, though, too. Like, If he needs to get out of the play, he can get out of the play and create on his own. If he wants to get in on it, he gets in on it. All right. Who's the next? We're speaking of an alien freak. Let's go with Marvin Harrison Jr. Talk about a freak, man. He's got everything. What do you got on
Yeah,
that?
and
Where's he going?
Yeah, that's really what you're talking about here with Marvin Harrison is again using the phrase complete package. We don't like to say that very often, but you're really seeing that with Caleb Williams at quarterback. You see that Marvin Harrison at wide receiver. You know, whether it's talking about speed or route running or body control or all the things that you're looking for. Even blocking has been pretty solid at times with Marvin Harrison. So you're really looking at a wide receiver that is going to do all for you. And in the NFL, having that tried and true number one overall wide receiver is very important for a lot of teams. Now, this is where it gets a little interesting when you're actually looking at the draft itself. You see Chicago at 1, you're going to get Caleb there. You got the Commanders at 2, pretty highly likely they're going to take quarterback, whether that's Drake May or Jalen Daniels. Where it gets interesting is that third position with New England. You have a lot of people wondering, is New England going to draft a quarterback? They certainly need one. Mac Jones is not the future there. You could have some speculation around teams trading into that 3 spot because I really don't think he's falling past number 4 at Arizona. God forbid he does fall past 4 at Arizona. You got the Los Angeles Chargers sitting there at 5th. You've got a couple wide receivers with Keenan Allen, Mike Williams. They're both going to be high price, probably cuts here in the next few days as teams try to get under the salary cap. So you really see Arizona at 4, Los Angeles Chargers at 5. The only wild card would be if you see a team trading into the top 3 for that. But that's where, if you're looking at Marvin Harrison being that complete wide receiver, you don't want to go to a team with a rookie quarterback or not a good quarterback situation. His best situation would fall to 4, playing with Kyler Murray. And I know a lot of people scoff at that, but Kyler Murray came on strong once he came back from injury. And that was a bad Arizona team. Worst case scenario, those 4 picks don't get it. You can fall with Jim Harbaugh and Justin Herbert at the Los Angeles Chargers. That would be a dream spot for him. So actually falling a spot or 2 would be very favorable to Marvin Harrison, but otherwise just a complete wide receiver.
Yeah. Well, we got
I think
Andrew Anderson.
He ain't going to make it till
Falcons,
8.
Baby.
He is not going to make it to 8. I'll tell you, it'll be Cardinals or Chargers unless Atlanta trades up. But I'm also hearing Chicago has that 9 pick as well. They may trade up. You get Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison in the same draft. My Lord.
if New England goes out and gets one of those free agent quarterbacks, he still might end up in New England.
Possible.
Like a Jacoby Brissett or somebody like that.
Very possible. And what people don't realize is offensive coordinator now at New England is Alex Van Pelt, the former Browns offensive coordinator. You actually could see someone like Joe Flacco. He's out there trying to get a starting job this year. You could see that bridge quarterback, see what Flacco does, and you draft a stud wide receiver. I'd like to see Flacco throwing to Harrison.
I don't think it matters who's throwing. You can have Steve throw to Harrison and he'll make him look good.
That's true.
You can have Hondo McCord throw to him.
Yeah, Kyle McCord.
And make him
the pride of Syracuse.
You could have the Syracuse starting quarterback throw to him, and he'd look good. But speaking of receivers, we got to go on to the next one, man. Rome Odunze, man. Holy cow. He just seemed to make touchdowns whenever they were needed. He was always available. Every time Penix was like, yo, we need a score, up in the air to Odunze. And against Oregon, against great defenses.
Yeah, that's what you're looking at too with really great wide receivers is, the quarterback play was outstanding at Washington this year. We know that. But Rome Odunze was a big part of that. And I had the privilege of seeing him play live a few times. And I can tell you flat out, his route running was superb. His speed was superb. His separation was on point. And really, most importantly, I saw a lot of that body control, those sideline grabs, those corner of the end zone grabs. His body control was elite. Even got to see him blocking on a really few running plays. I know Washington didn't run the ball a ton. But again, you're looking at a really complete wide receiver in Rome Odunze and, 6'3", 215 pounds, so incredibly solid, runs really fast as well, takes on those blocks when he needs to. And you see that progression in that rise throughout the course of the year. This was a top 20, top 25 pick coming into the season. now you're talking realistically a top 5 pick. I could see him or Neighbors going at number 5 to the Chargers. I think Bowers could be in there as well. But you're seeing this rise out of a really good wide receiver, and I think that he in most drafts would be the number 1 wide receiver. He just happens to be in the same class as Marvin Harrison.
And where do you think he's going to go now?
I could see the Chargers at 5. You know, even though I know that they're one of their big needs is tight end, and in my opinion, one of the best tight ends in a while, and Bowers is coming out. So I could see that there. I think to the point made earlier, Atlanta's really looking for it because word on the street is Kirk Cousins really favored to go there in free agency. So I think if you get something like Rome Odunze and Drake London, 1-2, and Atlanta with Bijan Robinson, that's a pretty deadly offense. I could also see number 9. So I think at those first 8 picks, you don't get it. You get Caleb Williams at 1 at the Bears. You got the Bears picking again at number 9 with their own pick. You pair Caleb Williams and Roland Dunze, you might change that offense around in the Windy City.
Real quick, if they get some offensive linemen and an offensive coordinator, maybe.
You can only fix so much in one offseason, my friend.
That's true. They need to fix a lot. But hey, we got this Dominique Ambrose, real quick. Let's jump this in here. He was saying that Dunze stayed around till the lights were off doing drills at the combine. He had a score he wanted to reach, the 4.6 on the 3-cone drill, and he kept knocking over that cone. He knew he could do it, so he kept trying, man, and he stayed around till it was gone, right?
That's the attitude.
It just showed. Yeah, it just shows his commitment to excellence. It was awesome. I mean, and I'm sure that stood out to a lot of people, right?
That's probably a bigger part of what a lot of people don't realize at the NFL Combine is everybody's watching. They want to see how you react with the coaches. If a coach has to, if you're paying attention, if a coach has to tell you how to do it 2, 3, 4 times, if you're engaged. Like, that's a big part of these GMs just paying attention when these guys don't think they are. You see a guy like that sitting around and working on it, that's the kind of guy you want to have on your team. Because you know he's going to come in and he's going to put in the work.
All right, and we talked about
college anymore.
Yeah, it's not. It's the big boys now. It's the big leagues, and you got to put in a little bit more than everyone else because everyone else is putting in a lot, right? We talked about 2 of the top 10 receivers, but this is like I think this is a historic class for wide receivers. So I'm going to pull this up. We're going to look at them. And we're going to cover the Michigan man. Just get the Buckeyes on the screen for a little bit and, cover the ugly Michigan shirt. Here we go. All right, so the top 10 draft picks, at least in this guy's perception. Look at these names, though. Marvin Harrison Jr.'s, Malik Neighbors. You got Odunze. You got Thomas from LSU, who I think is probably the most underrated one. He kind of reminds me of Michael Thomas a little bit, to be honest. Troy Franklin, Ladd McConkey. Man, what did Ladd McConkey run? He ran like a 4.3 40.
Yeah.
I was not expecting at all. All these guys on this list, and you talked about earlier, Coleman, he could slide down in the 2nd round. Like, how does that change the draft? You got Wilson, who balled out at the Senior Bowl.
Yeah, it does. And anymore you kind of seen these dynamics with college translating a little bit to the NFL, where you're seeing a lot more 3 wide receiver sets in the NFL. I mean, you're seeing 4 and 5 wide receiver sets in college football. You're seeing a lot more 3 wide receiver sets. You need to have 3 or 4 wide receivers that can produce at a high level to really be efficient. And so even if you have Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, Mike Evans, you got a really stud wide receiver. You need that secondary piece because the defense isn't going to always be able to roll that safety over top to that number 1 wide receiver. So you're seeing that value and that premium being added. So if you have a pretty decent offensive line, you got the running back, you got a good quarterback in place, you're more than willing to give up that 1st-round draft pick on a wide receiver in order to really fill out and complement the entire offense. And you're putting strain on the defenses on multiple fronts.
So just give me some more. Give me some more. Keep the wide receivers coming. I think, personally, if I'm a GM, all these guys that you can skip on, if you don't want to spend your 1st-round draft pick on a stud wide receiver, there's plenty of studs left over. That 2nd round, I think, is going to be where you take your wide receiver if you're really looking for one. Because there's
They're all
some
gonna
of those guys are going to fall that in normal years would be a first-round draft pick.
Maybe.
If Marvin Harrison wasn't there, Rome Odunze would be number 1 on any other year, right?
If you see it, you could see a run go on receivers, and then I think you could see 4, 5, 6 of them go. If that run starts and you see 1 go, 2, 3, 4, then the guys are going to try to move up and get the guy they want.
Okay.
But you almost don't have to. You can get somebody in the second, third round that's going to come out and produce.
You can, unless that run happens. I mean, you know, when you're looking at the top 10 picks, it's pretty clear that those first 9 picks, you could see 3 wide receivers going. That's a pretty big deal. You don't see that all that often in the NFL draft. And then you start to creep into that back end of the first round where you're talking really good teams, typically pretty established quarterbacks when you get into those later picks. And you could see another one like Mike was talking about, another one of those runs, whether you're talking Keen Coleman, whether you're talking Xavier Worthy, whether you're talking Brian Thomas, whether you're talking maybe even Roman Wilson. I know he's probably, you know, second round pick, but he has been rising quite a bit. So you start seeing maybe somebody like, I don't know, Houston at 23 or Green Bay. God knows they never drafted a wide receiver with Aaron Rodgers. Maybe they start doing that. You've got, you know, Mike Evans with Tampa Bay at 26. He's got a 2-year deal, but a lot of tread on those tires. To Mike's point, you could see a run of 4 or 5 receivers. And, you know, this is kind of leading up to when we're going to talk about in late April when we're talking about the betting portion of the NFL draft. A lot of the betting is around how many position players are taken per round. And I think the number that Vegas sets on wide receivers in round 1 is going to be really interesting. I don't have the number in front of me, but I'm guessing they're going to land on somewhere around 6.5, which is incredibly high. And it's going to be a really challenging over-under there.
But
Think about
is Dominique right?
Coleman.
Is Dominique right? Is Harrison slightly overrated?
No. I mean, the things that Harrison did with McCord at quarterback is outstanding. I mean, if he had CJ Stroud for 2 years and he's putting this up, I could say maybe he has a point. But he was doing this with Kyle McCord. So, no, I really don't believe that.
All right.
Well, it appears that we have lost Steve. So
Who do we got next?
I don't know. You know what, man? Since Steve's off, we're going to run in here a little bit. I want to pick your brain a little bit about JJ McCarthy. He has been rising like crazy. So, Mike, tell me why he's been rising like crazy.
Well, let's start right away with he got to the combine. He put on 17 pounds. So now he's in the perfect 6'3", 218-pound range. So good size for an NFL quarterback.
I'm back.
Hey, I'm picking his brain on McCarthy, man. I didn't know where you went. I didn't know how long you'd be out. I want to hear about McCarthy.
It's all good. You got to keep going with the show.
Yeah,
man.
we have, man.
While I was gone.
Sorry, Mike.
I got that Walmart internet connection. I steal their internet, and they were kind of upset, I guess, that I was on. They kicked me off for a second, but now I'm on McDonald's, so we're good.
All right, man. So you tell me McCarthy put on some weight. I didn't know about that. Okay, tell me more about the combine.
Yeah, 219, man.
Yeah, and he stayed athletic. So he put on good weight. He didn't just show up and have the weight put on because he wasn't doing anything. He was working. He was getting ready for it. He comes from an offense where really he didn't have to do much, but you could see at points throughout the year he could make the NFL throw.
We got more McCarthy talk. I'm going to cut you off because we got to get to a commercial. We got to pay some bills, all right? The lights are about to go off. My internet.
I got to pick your brain some more on that.
Let's go. It's coming right after this commercial. So let's get hot with some Danos and get ready for JJ McCarthy.
Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some. Yum, yum, get you some.
Dano Seasoning, food's favorite flavor.
Yum, yum, get you some.
I'm Joe Burrito, your favorite burrito. Whoa, whoa.
Joe, we
Hey.
all know you're the best.
What?
You can always do better.
What you got?
Try the new Dano's Hot Chipotle.
Hey. Ooh, that's spicy. Yum, yum.
Yum, yum, get you some.
There it is. And we're back. It just got hotter because we are about to talk about Michigan. We don't want to talk about them, but we got to because it was like the big house at Lucas Oil Stadium. There were so many Michigan players there balling out. What do you got on it? You were talking. Where did you get on JJ? I
We
didn't
just
hear
started.
It, so I don't know.
We
You
just
talked about his
started.
weight.
Yep.
Oh, you guys are a bunch of women talking about guys' weights, and that's it.
It's okay when you're talking combine. It's perfectly acceptable.
Let's get into the real stuff. What else did he do? Why did he move up so much?
It looked like
We're
he
talking
could throw.
Big Ten risers here.
Everything I read about him, he had a good. His throwing was pretty good. He stayed athletic. He comes in very coachable. His interviews, I guess, were off the chain. So, and I kind of
Was it the
expect.
Giants? Was it the Giants
Yeah, they got
that
him.
interviewed him that really
They
wanted
haven't
him?
jumped out past May. I think he's projected as the third quarterback now.
Yeah, which is crazy.
What about arm strength and kind of deep ball? I can't really talk a ton
Arm
about
strength.
that.
He got the 61-mile-an-hour fastball with a football, man. So he was
Okay.
second in the
Has
combine.
the
in that.
strength, but I think he's a little bit inconsistent on his deep ball.
Well,
But inside the team, like if he goes to a team where they want to play the Michigan style, run the ball, very controlled, he's going to be good in the NFL. But he is inconsistent with the deep ball.
He had some crazy athleticism, and that is what they saw. He didn't run the 40. He didn't do any of the jumping, typical white boy. But he did well. He did well in he got a 6.82 3-cone drill, which was 6th at the 2024 Combine, and that 61-mile-an-hour fastball was great as well. And he also ran the shuttle in a 4.23. So the athleticism, the change of direction, the quick change of direction, really well. I don't know why he didn't run the 40. Like I said, it's probably just because he's white and it would have been slow.
He was actually hurt. He had hamstring issues going into it.
Hamstring issues? All right. Well, I mean, why do you run the shuttle run with a hamstring injury, though?
I don't try to answer these questions. I'm just telling you what I heard.
I mean, and also the 40 is not really a huge factor for quarterbacks. What you're really going to see is that that accuracy, that arm strength, and it's really going to come down to the interviews as well. If you got the attributes to play at the NFL level and you played at a high level, how do you perform in those interviews? That's going to be a major factor. But you're right. You're seeing a guy that maybe was, second round, maybe fringe late third, first, somebody trading back in, and now you're starting to get talk around the fact that you start looking at teams at Minnesota at 11. Again, a lot of smoke around Kirk Cousins going to Atlanta, and if that takes place, you got Minnesota at 11. You got Denver at 12. They've cut Russell Wilson. You've got the Vegas Raiders at 13, and also kind of a pick at 14. You've got the New Orleans Saints. You got Garrett Carr on a 2-year deal. I mean, that could be a really cool situation. He sits behind Derek Carr for a year or two, starts becoming the starting quarterback. So you could see a run in there from 11 to 14 on places where you can make the argument for JJ McCarthy to fit.
I've seen him high as 6 to the Giants. I think he's one of the betting odds to the Giants.
Giants have had offensive line issues. They don't have Saquon Barkley anymore. I mean, they don't have a wide receiver that any of us can name unless we have the internet. For his sake, he should hope that he doesn't go there.
Oh no,
100 always sucks, according to Sidney Bernstein. Not next year. They suck this year for OSU standards.
Next year, you guys should be good. The best money a team can buy.
Should be Day's best team, to be honest with you. But, hey, moving right along. We got to talk other risers in the Big Ten. Who else we got in there? Other than JJ McCarthy, we got Troy Fontenot from Washington. Man, oh man, he tested well. 5-second 40 for an offensive lineman with a 32.5-inch vertical and a 9-foot 5-inch broad jump. I mean, that is athletic for a big man. Athletic. The Joe Moore a winning line from Washington, man. These guys are good. They were good all year. The only time that they showed a little bit of weakness was against probably the best defensive line in college football in Michigan. Right?
Yeah.
Damn, that hurts saying that. You're up, Mike. I can't even talk anymore. I'm getting sick.
Yeah, let's go take a shower after that, man.
Well, listen, every team's going to be looking. Offensive line is so important now, right? And to me, I've noticed the NFL starting to run the ball a little bit more. They're it's not just passing anymore. The running back position seems to be coming back. If you can have an offensive lineman that can run block and pass block, they're worth their weight in gold.
Yeah. And the next one on our list was Olu Fontenot. Or Fashanu. I hope I pronounced that correctly. The offensive tackle from Penn State. I probably butchered his name, but man, oh man, he is a big boy. He meets all their measurables. 6'6", 321 pounds. He was the 2023 Big Ten Offensive Lineman of the Year, and he just has equal protection in pass blocking and run blocking. He gets out of his blocks or out of his stance quick, so he's just the prototypical guy in the NFL. And where's he going? What do you got him in the draft?
Yeah, you're kind of seeing him bouncing around quite a bit. I think where you start to see the offensive line really come into play is at number 10 with the New York Jets. Everyone knows their line was a dumpster fire. So you really see the Jets taking an offensive tackle. I've seen a couple Brock Bowers there, but I really don't see that happening. You're also seeing New Orleans really looking for offensive tackle play. I've seen the Chargers here and there, but I think they could lean Bowers more than offensive tackle. So you could be looking at the best defensive tackle coming off the board at 5, possibly Tennessee at 6, although I've seen Joe Alt from Notre Dame really tied to Tennessee on a lot of mocks. So you got Chargers at 5, you got Titans at 7, you got Jets at 10, and then probably going down to 14, you see the Saints. But, going back to Fontenot, I've seen a lot of mocks having him going to the Seahawks at 16. And to put that in perspective, they're listing Fontenot as a guard. So when you're talking a guard going in the top 20 of the NFL draft, that's really
impressive.
talented. That's a really talented offensive lineman because you're typically
Maybe
going
it's 'cause
offensive.
he could play both. Maybe it's because he could go interchangeable. So
I mean, I'll tell you this: if they list you as a guard in the NFL, you're probably not going to tackle.
playing guard.
You may go center, but you're not going to go to tackle. Because ideally, everyone's going to want to be tackle because that's where you get paid. So if they put you at left guard, it means you maybe just don't have that measurables, but can still be incredibly talented, have a really successful career. But that's where, you'll see that early on. You'll see maybe the first 10 picks. You could see 2 or 3 offensive tackles going, and then you're probably not going to see the offensive lineman until a little bit later in the draft. And there's some great tackles. Latham out of Alabama, and as you get down, you got Guyton at Oklahoma, you got Mims at Georgia, you got Morgan at Arizona. So, I mean, again, that's another number we're going to be looking at with betting lines over under offensive linemen taking the first round. You might be seeing 7.5 at that line. So you're talking wide receiver, quarterback, and offensive linemen really dominating this draft.
So risers of the Big Ten. Real quickly, we got to get to this quick. Anyone from across the country that you saw that was a riser? Like someone that stuck out to you?
Honestly, I mean, McCarthy was a pretty big one. I got to say that right up front. Another one, if you're looking at Chop Robinson out of Penn State, the DN, again, he put on a freakish display at the combine, and you saw a guy that was probably mid to late second round, probably jump into the 20s of the first round. So that was pretty impressive. Another really big riser is Max Melton, the cornerback out of Rutgers. Really saw him grabbing a lot of eyeballs. This was a day 3 pick at best, and now you're talking potentially middle of the third, maybe sneaking into the late second. So you're seeing some good ones across there. Latu, and again, I probably butchered that. I pulled a beef, but that's defensive end out of UCLA.
Man, you're just talking Big Ten, man. I want some people from across the country. What I was thinking was Brian Thomas Jr. I mean, he was leading the nation in touchdowns. I think he just got overshadowed by Neighbors a little bit. But this guy, I think, is going to be a better NFL player than even Neighbors. I think he's going to keep jumping up the board. And I think he did surpass Neighbors. I bet he gets picked before Neighbors does. What do you guys think?
No. Not a chance in the world. I see Neighbors as a top 10 pick, but
I bet if he doesn't, he's going to be a better player in the NFL. I'm willing to bet money on it. Who wants to bet me?
I don't. I could agree with you, but Neighbors seems to be neck and neck with the Dunze right now. So I don't know. I would take Thomas's film has been jumping out, so I really see that as being a big riser, but he could be one of those steal. I mean, Wouldn't that be scary? A guy like that falls to 32 with the Kansas City Chiefs, and you pair him with Patrick Mahomes. Oh man!
And they want to.
What kind of superstar are they going to get to marry him?
Even Coleman. Picture Coleman going to Kansas City. You have that nightmare of a matchup, and you're going to have Patrick Mahomes throwing the ball?
Yeah. What are you going to defend? Kelsey over the middle or Coleman running the fade route in the corner of the end zone? Good luck with either.
Well, hey, boys, we got to get to it. We got to get to some more of these Big Ten surprises. So, Big Ten surprisers for you. Tyler Nubin, the safety out of Minnesota. 6'2", 210 pounds. Tell me what you got on him. Where's he going in this draft?
Yeah, you're really seeing him fringe second, maybe sneaks into the first. But this is a kid that has been rising up draft boards like crazy. And in fact, this was, if you start looking at mock drafts a couple weeks ago, which I don't tend to like to do because it's pre-combine, you weren't seeing the name anywhere, even in the second round mock drafts. And now after the combine, you're seeing him in that kind of mid to late 30s range. And I've seen a couple mocks where he's going first round. I've seen one from CBS, Trapasso. He's going 28 to the Buffalo Bills. They cut their safety a couple days ago. So really rising up the draft boards and really putting on a good display.
We got Quinyon Mitchell, that cornerback from Toledo, Dominic Ambrose says, and Renardo Green as well. So what do you know? Do you know about any of those? Where are they at on your board?
Yeah, absolutely. At least Quinyon Mitchell. You're seeing top 20 draft pick. That's no joke.
Holy
that is
shit. From Toledo.
From Toledo.
Yeah.
I mean, come on, man. We gotta love the MAC being in Ohio,
Rockets,
Michigan here, man. We gotta represent the MAC.
There's a lot of talk that Lions there might be a Lions pick right there.
Tortilla.
Yeah. I'm actually don't even know if he gets to the Lions, to be honest with you. I think the Lions desperately need some secondary help. He might not get there. I've seen one mock where he's going 17 to the Jaguars. I've seen another one where he's going 12 to the Broncos, which I think is a little intense for Denver. But yeah, you're talking a top 20 pick out of Toledo there for sure.
All right. Surprises. Someone that I didn't know about in the Big Ten, and I don't know why I didn't. A name I had never heard until we were studying for this podcast. Jerzon Newton, the defensive tackle from Illinois. Just a natural run stopper, man. He is a beast. He's the latest first round type defensive tackle out of Illinois, man. What do you think about this, guys?
Well, you didn't hear about him because he played at Illinois.
Exactly. And they almost got beat by Toledo.
Those are like the hidden gems you don't hear about, then all of a sudden they just pop out of nowhere.
Didn't Toledo beat them by a field goal at the end of the game? Toledo lost to them by a field goal?
They lost to them because Toledo was having a really good year and was looking at
Illinois
potentially
got a field
being the
goal at
best
the end of
group
the,
of five.
end of the game. Yeah.
Bielema's got to get that signature win of the year. He got it there against Toledo. But it was funny, I didn't know the name very much, and I started looking into him. And we use a NFL mock draft database as one of the sources we kind of peg to see, okay, what's a person trending? Are they a true riser and faller? And one of the biggest shocks when I looked at Newton was if you go all the way back to October and you're looking at where his draft prospect is, he was consistent. He was consistently in the top 20 range, which I thought to be really odd. I even saw him at times peak just above the top 10. So this was a name that every scout must have been aware of, but all of us in the Big Ten had no idea he was playing.
And we got to go on to the next one. Max Melton. Holy Rutgers, man. 4.39 in the 40-yard dash. I mean, I think even on the draft day combine, when the announcer was talking, he was like, "Hello, Rutgers." Once you run that 40, I mean, that puts your name on the pedestal, right?
Yeah, it does. And, that speed really helps when you're looking at that. And you also see the fact that when you're talking about a guy who's looking at being 140th ranked overall of all positions, and you're kind of saying, okay, 140th, what are you talking about? A day 3 pick at best. And, somebody takes a flyer on, but you're looking at 6 foot cornerback, has great speed, really rising up the draft boards, got that lanky body. You want that kind of lanky frame when you're looking at quarterbacks, be able to press those bigger wide receivers. This is somebody who I think could sneak into the second round, or if he does get to that third round, I think he's going to get scooped up in those 60, maybe the 70 range. So great player out of Rutgers, really rising up the board.
And with the amount of emphasis put on speed wide receivers now, you need guys that can run at defensive back to keep pace with these guys.
Absolutely.
Like,
And
probably the first thing they're looking for is how fast these guys are. Because wasn't it from Penn State was one of the biggest. He fell a lot. The DB King, because he had the
Kevin King,
he had the third worst 40 time or something, and now he went from a second to a fourth round or something like that.
Kalen King. Yeah. He
King, yeah.
his peak was at 14 overall. Kalen King was at 14 overall. Now they have him at 107. I mean, plummeted. You're talking 93 spots, dropped down.
His 40 time, I guess he was the third slowest defensive back out there.
I think we have a interview with him on Facebook too, if you guys want to go check that out. Kind of cool.
Nice.
After the Northwestern game. Anyway, let's get on to some more of these Big Ten guys. All right. The players that we knew were good, we got to talk about. Chomp Robinson. Man, a 4.4940. I mean, that's cooking for someone who weighs 254 pounds. He's, an edge rusher. But, guys, no wonder people are getting CTE. They're getting banged in the head by a defensive end that runs a 4.440. Save some shit for this short, regular dudes, man. What are we going to have? We can't have height. We can't have weight. You got to give us speed. You can't take that too. That's fucked up.
He's a monster. He's just a monster.
Crazy. It's just insane, man. I can't believe people are running that fast as a DN.
Yeah, but I mean, you look at Penn State in their history, they seem to have a lot of these real athletic freaks. And that's what I'd put Chop Robinson in that category. He's an athletic freak, 6'3", 254. The one thing I would be a little bit concerned about is that 254 in the NFL that really doesn't play at that D end unless you're doing, a third down package or something along those lines. So you do have somebody where you're saying, okay, what's he going to play position wise? Is he going to be able to be that will linebacker or something along those lines? But he's a pure freak, man. But, so was Courtney Brown, and Browns fans all know how that went. So.
All right, TJ's like, we're going to start calling Steve Walmart Steve until he gets that Wi-Fi fixed. Man, it's something about, I have to switch my screens because I don't have dual screens because I was never prepared to actually run the show. I'm the driver today, and every time I switch off my screen, it kicks me off. So I don't know what to do. Call me Walmart Steve. I'm on, actually, McDonald's Wi-Fi now, so it should be good.
Mike and I are just keeping the show going whenever you drop, so don't worry about it, buddy.
I'll be right back. I mean, it just kicks me out.
We don't know. We don't know if you'll be right back, so we just keep flowing the conversation, him and I.
All right, on to the next one. UCLA's Latu. I hope I pronounced that correct, too. 6'5", 265 pounds, 13 sacks on the year. He's got the most in the Power 5. I mean, there's some other guys up there from, one of those no-name schools. But the very first ever Lombardi Trophy Award winner from UCLA. Man, that's going to be a nice pickup. Where's he going?
Yeah, you're kind of seeing this again where these type of position players, where does he fit in at DN at the NFL level? You typically like to see maybe, 10, 20 more pounds on a DN to be that consistent every down DN at the NFL level. Does he kind of fit in at that outside linebacker? Not really sure, but an extremely talented athletic player. That's where the kind of the question marks around that, where if you're looking at a lot of drafts, you're kind of seeing him in the mid-20s, which is nothing to scoff at. He's still going to be a first-round talent.
And that's because he doesn't run a 4.440. I mean, that's a new baseline for a DN in the NFL.
Yeah, I mean, to me, I like to see more like the 3-cone drills and stuff like that for D linemen and
Yeah.
that because that body bend is so important. I think for the
Mhm.
defensive players along those lines. To me, if he's running 40 yards straight, it means somebody busted a defensive play. But I think
He
you're
got a
kind of
strip sack, baby. He's taking it to the house.
well, that's fair too. That's the
And with that
optimistic side.
athleticism, he's going to do a backflip once he gets in there.
You're seeing that mid to late 20s range, and again, this is where if you're a player like him, you love that mid to late 20s range because you're getting drafted by a playoff team, a team that's probably got a pretty good defensive line already, probably got a good front seven, so you're probably going to get paired along that front. So I really see somebody like him dropping into that 20s, really
Steelers,
being a
We
performing
got a
player.
comment from TJ saying, "Hey, the Steelers 3-4 scheme would be good for him."
No, man. I can't take any more Steelers pass rush, dude, with Watt and Hayward. I'm tired of seeing it. But I'm seeing Philadelphia at some places at 22. I've been seeing Arizona at 27. They got the Houston Texans pick. I've seen a couple where you're looking at Tampa Bay as well. They're trying to restock a lot of their front seven as well. So you're seeing that mid-20s range and kids athletically just very talented.
All right, on to the next one. We got Jackson Powers Johnson, the guard from Oregon. Oh, man. And he just has power. He has quickness. He is probably the first guy off of a really, really good Oregon team that I guess they kept most of their players. But the first one, they had the quarterback, Bo Nix, and they had Troy. They were the wide receiver. They were going to go high up. But he's going to be the first one taken off the board. What do you think?
First duck taken off the board?
The first duck, yeah.
Yeah. I could very likely see that. And again, you're talking an interior offensive lineman, right? Probably a guard or center. So you got Fontanatu. Again, now you got it in my head. I'm going to be butchering the name. All the Husky fans are going to rain down on me on that. I apologize. But you're probably seeing him be the first interior offensive lineman taken off the board. But then you're going to see Jackson Powers be the second one. And this is where if you see him sneaking into that late first round, it's going to be a steal. I look at somebody like Buffalo. Baltimore's always looking to bulk up their offensive line to protect their MVP quarterback. Or you could see that kind of really early in the second round with Carolina. Obviously, they're trying to protect their quarterback. But this is also a kid, let's just point out, when you were talking in October, November, you were seeing him ranked 120. I seen him go as low as 180 as overall. And now you're talking potential first round. So you've seen this precipitous rise out of this interior offensive lineman. So very impressive.
Quick
How about
shout
Miami?
out, man. Dominic Ambrose and TJ
Yeah,
Chapman
Miami.
are keeping this chat alive, man. Go ahead, Mike.
I could see him going to Miami.
Yeah.
Perfect for two.
He needs
Get him the
all
ball.
the help he can get, man.
They have all the offensive weapons. You put an offensive line there.
Yeah.
Now
Yeah.
they're cooking.
You got to
Yeah,
keep him
actually-
from getting concussed, right? Protect that.
That's
head.
actually it's a great call out. If you look at Chris Trapasso at CBS Sports, he actually has him going 21 to Miami Dolphins. So good call out there.
All right,
And
we
the
got to
other
move
one-
on to the next one. Bo Braid, the safety from Maryland. 6'1", 210 pounds. What do you guys got on him?
Yeah,
Look
another
cleaned
one
up,
of those
man.
risers.
He's a run supporter, right?
Yeah, he's just another one of those kids that kind of falls by the wayside playing on a team that, whether you want to call him underachieving or overachieving, but you were looking at him being in the hundreds. I saw him drop again, according to Mock Draft Database, drop almost down to 200. And then you've really seen that rise and improvement over the point where he's looking like a very solid third-round pick out of Maryland.
When was that he dropped down? What time?
January.
Of year was that?
January,
Oh, really?
which I got to
And he
question a
just
little
bumped
bit.
right back
Like
up. Yeah.
I don't know what team
Wow.
Maryland played on January 22nd. I'm not really sure what their schedule looks like, but they kind of see that drop. I don't, I highly
Film
doubt
from
there was
that
some
bowl
type of-
game came back.
apparently so.
And with
But-
teams in the NFL to run the ball more, you need a safety that's going to come in and can play the run.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
he does.
And you're seeing 3-4 safeties on every team at least. Some of them are potentially paying in those nickel packages. So you're right. You got to stockpile those safeties.
All right. We got our next one. If you all are done with that one, we got Braylon Allen, the running back from Wisconsin, 6'2", 240 pounds. I mean, this guy's a beast. He was taking over games. He got hurt once this year. And, man, he's just the prototypical Wisconsin running back where you got him in the draft. I can almost guarantee he's too low.
I mean, you had me at Wisconsin running back, so I was all in on that. That just says it in and of itself, especially
I
with
think he's
very
like 100, right? 98, right?
I've been seeing him in the 80s, to be honest with you, and this is kind of a theme. If everyone's noticed everything we're talking about, we're not just excluding the Big Ten here. You're not seeing any first-round grades on running backs. You're really not even hearing a lot of talk about running backs in the second round. He could be potentially the first running back off the board, and you're talking late second round, early third round. And I don't really think that's an insult there, but you're just not seeing that premium on running backs, and you're going to see that in free agency. You're talking Saquon Barkley, you're talking Austin Eckler, you're talking Josh Jacobs, you're talking a lot of really good running backs out there people may not be picking on. So, unfortunately, Alan, this ain't 2001. If it was, he might be a little bit higher. You're probably seeing a third-round grade because of that.
Well, teams are looking at it as you can go in the third round and get a running back that can produce.
Yeah,
And-
Absolutely.
And you're not going to waste a second round or first round pick on somebody that you're most likely not going to re-sign. You run these guys until their treads fall off, and then you let them go.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
why would you waste high draft capital when I can go get a third round or fourth round?
All right, boys, we got some more bills to pay, and I have been shitty on getting to the commercials. It's about to get warm out, so go get yourself an Icy Breeze. Keep yourself cool if you're taking your kids to any sporting events, those soccer games, those hot baseball games.
Icy Breeze is the world's first portable air conditioner and cooler. A premium ice cooler that doubles as an eco-friendly portable air conditioner. This is not a swamp cooler just blowing air across ice. Over 60 parts and components allow Icy Breeze to achieve what no other product in the world can do. The secret behind the Icy Breeze is an innovative design that circulates chilled ice water through a heat exchanger in the lid, replacing the Freon used in most ACs. Fresh air is drawn from hidden vents in the top of the cooler, pulled across the exchanger, and chilled down to 35 degrees cooler than the outside air. A 3-speed fan control delivers Icy Breeze's dry, cold air up to 25 miles per hour, just like a car AC. And a stay-put flex hose directs the breeze in any direction. Wherever you need it, Icy Breeze helps you beat the heat.
All right, boys, we are back. Before we get into our quickies, we're going to talk in the quickies a little bit about all the other possible draft picks from people we didn't mention, teams we didn't mention. But before we get there, man, we got to talk about the playoff. What's going on in the playoffs? They're going to go to 14 already. They haven't even started the 12. We're talking about 2026 going to 14. First thoughts on that. What do you think?
Greed, and it's idiotic. How can you discuss 12, agree on 12, and not play one game and go to 14? The only thing that is, it's the SEC and the Big Ten flexing, and the other conferences know they got to do whatever they like. Whatever those two conferences want, just agree to it and go on.
Matt, you got anything on that?
I love it. I absolutely love it.
More football games that count. I mean, the bowl games are going away, essentially, right?
Yeah, it's been trending that way the last 8-10 years when you're seeing, first round picks not going. Now you saw the transfer portal. I mean, we talked about it in the bowl season, how it was impossible to bet on those games because we had no idea who was playing, what was going on. They needed to go away. But you need this offseason, and the fact that let's call for what it is. We're all Big Ten people here. Big Ten and the SEC are going to be running college football the next 50 years. That's who everyone's going to want to see. Those are the teams that are going to want to be in it. The fact that you're talking Big 12 and the ACC getting 2 teams apiece, that's pretty awfully generous. I think Notre Dame.
That's what I want to talk about next. Having those automatic qualifiers. Give me your thoughts on that.
Well, you kind of have to because of the amount of teams in the Big Ten and the SEC. Like, let's look at the Big 12. Are there any teams in there that you're looking going, oh my God, this team can win a national championship?
No. No,
And
you're
then if
not.
you look at the SEC, take away Clemson and Florida State. Are there any teams there where you're like, oh, this team can win a national championship? But then you look at the SEC, Alabama, Georgia, Ole Miss,
Texas,
Texas, Oklahoma.
Oklahoma.
And then you look at the Big Ten, Ohio State, Oregon, Michigan, Washington, USC if Lincoln Riley can learn how to play defense. Like it's there's the parity in the four leagues. They need to just rip off the Band-Aid, the Big Ten, SEC, take the teams they want, and let's just go AFC and NFC model, and let's just call it a day. Because that's where it's going anyway.
Two things that I think, if you're going to do this, this is how you do it right. NIL. You don't give bowl game gifts anymore. You give everyone that goes in the game for the playoff game some type of NFL or NIL contract, right? You can't fucking talk. Some type of contract for NIL. You have to play in the game or you don't get it. All right? Injuries aside, it doesn't matter because if you're going to sit out for a game, same thing with championship games. You have to have some NIL attached to it so people have some reason to play the damn game. I don't want to see all these guys sitting out anymore. It's stupid. Why even play the game? I mean, it's a scrimmage. The second thing that needs to be fixed is why even have a ranking if you're going to do automatic qualifiers? Just use the rankings. There's a reason you rank them. If the Big Ten deserves to have 3 teams in, they'll be ranked in the top 14. If the SEC deserves it, they'll be ranked in the top 14. I mean, all these other schools that don't deserve to be there won't be ranked. There's no reason to have any tie-ins. Because what about a bad year? Every conference has a bad year every now and then. And every conference has a good year. I mean, you could have those weird situations where BYU's the best in the nation, you know?
I think the problem becomes, okay, let's say a team like Texas Tech has 1 loss.
Yeah.
Or 2 losses, and Ohio State has 3. Texas Tech played no one, and Ohio State, let's just say, played Michigan, Oregon, USC, who else? Washington.
They have to include strength of schedule. They have to. I mean, they don't do that now, but they have to include strength of schedule.
Who's doing the rankings, man? I mean, you want to talk to a big systemic problem. It's actual rankings in college football. We all know opening day in the first month, it's a joke. It's just for rating purposes only. And it's just to hype up games. And then, you get the college football playoff. Maybe that's a little bit more. But, I mean, rankings are a joke. And to Mike's point, you got the SEC playing a brutal schedule. You got the Big Ten playing a brutal schedule. 3 losses by a Big Ten SEC team is better than 1 loss in the Big 12. Yeah.
You should probably be 12, with the
and even the playoff committee, it's what, athletic directors? Do they really have time to watch 13 football games a day? I mean, on a Saturday? They're not watching these. They're turning
a handful of commentators,
a
a handful of people that can verify that they watch college football every single Saturday in as many games as you can. And there should even be a fan poll, to be honest with you, like there is for the NBA All-Star team. Make that a component of it.
It's better than the coaches poll.
For sure.
Yeah.
There's no way a coach is watching it, right?
Yeah.
No, you can't.
I mean,
any way else to improve it? Any way else? What do you guys got?
Well, I would go back to 18. Bring back the Pac-12, 5 conference champions, 3 at large, and call it a day. I think 8 would have been the perfect number.
I agree.
You would have kept the Pac-12. What happened to Florida State never would have happened. And you keep the greatest thing about college football, a regular season that matters. The only sport where every game matters. Now, if you can lose 3 games, you're not paying attention to half of these games.
Yeah, but what happens to the championship game? Like not the playoff championship game. I'm talking about conference championship games. What do people just sit those out?
No, it has major impact, man. You're talking buys. I mean, that's the other thing too is you aren't watering
But
down things.
Is a buy helpful?
Extremely, if you need that time off.
Not really. You have that. You might not need that time off though.
It depends. It depends on what teams line up where. Because if getting the bye, you're going to end up with, let's say, an SEC or ACC team. But playing the bye game, you could end up with a Pac-12 and a Group of 5 team.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden you're like, I don't want to buy. I want to end up playing at home first.
Well, something.
Well, let me give you a scenario, right?
Okay.
Alabama, Georgia playing the SEC championship game.
They're both in.
Yeah, right. I'm trying to think of a scenario where let's say one of them has 2 losses, right? But they're still playing in the championship game. That team gets a 3rd loss. Maybe they drop down to the point where they're not hosting a playoff game. They got to go on the road and play at the big house. Or they got to go on the road and play in Columbus or Penn State. And you're saying, do I really want to go play in a 22-degree weather game? Or am I going to bust my tail and win this conference championship and hope I get a 4 seed, 5 seed?
But you're also talking about players that are like, we're going to be in it anyway, so I'm not going to play. I'm going to opt out.
Potentially, but seeding could factor in. I think that's where that first round home game, I think that's going to make a big difference for those SEC teams and a lot of the ACC teams as well. Whether you're traveling out to Washington or Oregon or
those first round home games are not for the people that are in the top 4 because they get a bye.
Under the current format, I was looking at the 14-team format where they were talking about 2 buys. So
really? That I haven't heard yet.
14, they're going to go to 60. Like 14 is a stupid number. Let's just be honest. They're going to go to 60.
Yeah, they could.
Man, they could. I don't. I just want to see it play out first before I decide on how many more teams we need to have in it. You're gonna need it. I get it because the bowl games. There's no point. I mean, the bottom feeders will make bowl games. It's going to be like the 7 and 5 teams that are going to bowl games, and no one's going to give a shit.
Well, let's look at this. A group of 5 bowl games are a lot of fun. When you got the MAC schools and you got the Sun Belt and you got these kids playing, it's actually fun really watching those. Where the bowl season gets diluted is the Power 5 conferences and a lot of those players opting out in the transfer portals and stuff. So I think if you look at, let's just say a 16-team playoff, you're going to get the best 16-team majority Power 5 conferences. That's going to be really fun to watch. You're also going to have bowl season with the group of 5 teams. That's going to be really fun to watch. It's going to be teams 16 through 40 that nobody cares about.
Yeah. One other scenario before we get moving on. I heard on, I forget what podcast today I was listening to on my car ride, but I drive around for work, so I was listening to all kinds of podcasts. I heard, there is a possible scenario where maybe they have the Big Ten and the SEC have their 3rd and 4th team, if they have the 3 automatic qualifiers, play in. So the 3rd and 4th team in the Big Ten, the 3rd and 4th team in the SEC play for that 3rd place to see who gets that automatic qualifier. That would be kind of cool.
So like a second conference championship game, so to speak. Like 1 plays 2 and 3 plays 4.
Uh-huh.
Listen, let's be honest. If they're playing each other, most likely they're both in anyways, and all you're playing for is seed.
Yeah, you would get the at-large bid, right?
If you're at 16, that's what you're doing. And the minute they agree to 3...
This was with the 14 mark, but... Yeah,
I mean,
probably right.
I would say, let's look at Big Ten this year using last year's numbers. I know it's not the same, but you'd have Michigan, Washington, 1-2. You'd have Ohio State, Oregon, 3-4. That'd be a hell of a game.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah. It'd be a hell of a game.
It'd be fun to watch.
All right, boys. Let's move on to the next spot. We got the quickies, and Big Ten backers love us some quickies. So we got to get through these quick because we ran a little longer than expected. So Illinois has another guy, Keith Randolph. Where you got him at, Matt?
Yeah, you're really looking at you're looking at kind of a 5th round, maybe 6th round grade on him, but pretty solid defensive line for a team nobody watched.
All right, Indiana, we got Aaron Casey and Andre Carter.
Yeah,
Are
Aaron
they going to make
Casey.
it?
Aaron Casey's still haunting Ohio State fans' dreams. That guy was all over the place in game 1 this year. You're probably seeing him going to be a 6 or 7 round pick, but it's one of those kids that's got a lot of moxie. I like that in a linebacker. Andre Carter, probably undrafted free agent.
All right, Michigan State's got Nick Samak and DJ Duplain.
Yeah, much like the Spartan season, neither really has a chance.
All right, Minnesota's got another guy in Braven Sanford.
Yeah, you're seeing him kind of rise up, and again, tight end, important position in the NFL. Probably see him 4th or 5th round, but interesting play.
Northwestern's got Cam Johnson and Bryce Gallagher. Actually, he's a good linebacker. If he gets picked up as an undrafted free agent, he's going to play.
Yeah,
least a
potentially,
special teams player.
You're looking off draft boards here. These would be undrafted free agents.
Purdue's got Sanusi Kane and Tyrone Tracy.
You know, I could see Tracy squeezing into the 7th round. Again, you're probably going to see that run on day 3 for running back, so I could see that happening. Kane, I really just don't see a spot there.
Maryland, we got Roman Wilson.
I think that's Michigan, but
Oh, did I? Sorry.
He's from Ohio. He can't. Michigan and Maryland, he mixes them up. It's just too many letters. You can't read the words.
They don't teach us reading in Ohio. They teach us football. So it's
I know.
That's why all your good players are from Ohio. Minus JJ McCarthy, I guess.
The Michigan difference.
Well, I think there was someone else there from Maryland.
You had Delmar Glaze, the offensive lineman. You're seeing him as a fringe. Yeah, you're seeing him as a fringe 7th round pick. But since you said Roman Wilson, he's shooting up, man. I see him 2nd round. He's been putting on a show. So
yeah, and we didn't talk about him enough. We talked about a little bit about his Senior Bowl performance, but boys, we're gonna run another commercial to end the show. So thank you for joining us. Thanks, Vegas Matt, for being here. Thanks, Mike. Man,
gentlemen, thank you for having me. It was a pleasure.
I hope we have you all again. I mean, I hope you come on again. This is your 2nd time, so you're a repeat offender, right?
I enjoyed it, except for all the Michigan hate, but I got to expect it from Ohio State Buckeyes.
I thought we were well under control tonight, man.
This
was like 1 out of 10.
Pretty good.
Yeah. I forgot though. Cooper DeJean from Iowa.
Yes.
We didn't even bring it to him. The Swiss Army knife of
he's hurt.
Back.
He's got a fractured fibula, I believe. So he was out for like the last 4 games of the season, which is not like a major thing unless it's a low fibular fracture. Probably not.
Matt, you know where they have him going? What number do they have him?
I've been seeing in the 20s quite a bit. He's, you know, I see him 19 at the Rams on one mock. I've seen him 22 at Philadelphia. I mean, he's a stud. He's from Iowa and he plays defense. It's a nice combination there. So definitely 1st round talent.
He does everything.
Yeah.
Hey,
he's a stud.
Everything we got is brought to you by College Football Dogs. So we're going to play a little bit about College Football Dogs and get you out of here. So God bless Big Ten backers, and thank you for joining us today. Thanks for all the comments. Like, share, subscribe. Adios.
Have a good night, gentlemen.
You as well.
On the College Football Dogs website, you'll find a main page that features some of our biggest and newest stories. Our conference pages for content related to your favorite team's conference. Our team store, where we have products that are available all year long, as well as gear available for a limited time only. Our podcast page, where you can see when one of the 12-plus College Football Dogs podcasts is streaming live on social media. Our subscription page, where you can join our Discord. If you're interested in becoming a contributor at College Football Dogs, email us at info@collegefootballdogs.com. If you enjoy any College Football Dogs content, we really do appreciate any donations you can make by visiting the donate page on our website or scanning the QR code here.
College Football Dogs, for the fans.